Hi, my name is Mark Peterson. I've been working on exercise equipment for 23 years now. I have 12 separate manufacturer certifications, and I'm also a warranty service rep. If you're out there looking for a used treadmill, then you need to see this video. When you first call to inquire about the used treadmill you're interested in, get the brand name, model number, and serial number if possible. Then call the manufacturer and ask them what the code is to retrieve the mileage from the treadmill. Most people underestimate the amount of time they actually use the treadmill. You may also ask them if any parts have been replaced on the treadmill under warranty. This will give you a good idea of how many things have already been done to this machine. Okay, some of the first things I'll look at when I'm looking at a treadmill is the edges of the walking belt. Here you have the edge of the belt, and then you have your black phenolic deck underneath. And along the side here is where all of your dust, tennis shoe rubber, and things like that will collect. If this isn't kept cleaned off, it will move underneath the belt and slow the belt down, which will give you some electronic problems. To check for deck wear, slide your hands underneath the belt and run your fingertips across the top of the deck. You're feeling for grooves. Then flip your hand over and feel the bottom of the belt. You're feeling for a fuzz or a roughness on the belt. Pull your belt around till you get to the seam of the belt and feel this area also. It's one of the first places to get rough. So, on this used treadmill, you have a worn, scratched, grooved deck. And then when you combine that with the worn, fuzzy, rough belt, you're going to have a lot of drag between your belt and deck. That will surely slow the motor down. That will increase the amperage through the lower electronics, and eventually that will blow out your lower electronics. That's not the expense that you're looking for with a used treadmill. I also look at the cosmetics of the machine just to make sure that it looks in good order, that it's not all rusted out, because rust means humidity, water, moisture, and those kinds of things aren't good for lower electronic boards. I'd be very careful about any cracks in the frames. On this particular treadmill, the rear end cap is broken, and the way that it is broken, it creates a hook. I would be scared that if a little kid got on here, or if somebody's foot came all the way back barefooted, that this hook would actually dig into their foot and cut them very badly, especially going at 3 miles an hour or, God forbid, 8 miles an hour. So this end cap would either have to be replaced or shave this down so that it doesn't create that kind of a corner. I also feel the back of the roller, and then I'll spin it around, and what I'm feeling for are bumps coming up through the walking belt. It means that there may be a lot of dirt underneath the belt, some wax, things like that. It's not a problem, but it can make a thumping noise every time the wax or dirt or whatever it is goes around and hits the belt itself. And sometimes it'll make you think you have a bad roller. I also will pull the belt along like this, and I will listen. On this particular belt, I hear scrapes and grinding telling me that there's a lot of dust, dirt, sand, and things like that underneath this walking belt right here. That's going to wear your belt out. Another very important part is the motor. This is what supplies all the power to the walking belt. And if there's anything going on with your motor, of course, it's not going to be able to push you. If your machine has had a worn belt, then it increases amperage in the electronics, and the motor brushes can wear the commutator down. They can actually spark on the commutator and make them wear down. And the way that you have to find out if it's worn or not is if you have a motor that's got windows, you can kind of get inside and look. Okay, right now we're looking through a vent window in the side of this motor to see the commutator. The commutator is the actual copper piece that the brushes rub on to transfer electricity to the motor. If you have high amperage going through the motor,
caused by a worn belt and deck, long extension cords, the brushes can actually spark on the commutator. That continuous spark will leave a layer of carbon, which makes it harder for the electricity to cross that point, thus creating another point for amperage to increase. But looking through this window, I'm rotating my belt a little bit so that my little segments of the commutator come across. And truthfully, these segments should look like a nice, shiny copper penny. A brand new penny. And as you can tell, this particular commutator is kind of dark. It's got some scratches on it. And I can tell you the brushes are also going to have scratches as well. Alright, now when you get caught with this type of motor, you can't clean the commutator. Some motors have a brush window on the side that you can get to, and without taking the motor apart, you can clean that commutator with a brush seat. On this particular machine, the motor will have to come apart to be able to clean that. So that's going to take a service tech. On the Life Fitness 5500 treadmill, it still has a motor inductor. A lot of your machines do. This is kind of a noise choke. It helps keep these DC motors quieter than what they normally would be without it. Although if your machine is experiencing high heat, this is a good place to see it. Right along this inner band where all the windings are, if your machine is getting hot a lot, this brown paper will actually be burnt. Kind of like if you got a paper sack from the grocery store too close to the stove. If you get the chance, you want to try to look at the lower board also.
When these lower electronic drive boards experience a lot of heat, they'll start to darken. The green will actually turn brown or black, especially around the fuse holders. So if you come across a treadmill that has dark around the fuse on the lower board, you may think about looking at another machine.
Then walk on it. Your treadmill should be smooth and noise free. Remember the loose drive belt we talked about on this machine? That's it. We can fix it. But if you're buying this machine, you're going to have to call a service tech to do it.
Then raise your elevation all the way up. Stand on the treadmill and listen for a nice, smooth running elevation. Lower your elevation all the way to the ground, and this will also check the limit switches to make sure that they're working properly.
Okay, here's the true story about this treadmill. Customer called me, he had bought it used it for a couple of times, and it started acting up on him. So what I found, the motor brushes are worn, the belt and deck is worn, the drive belt is loose. All of this kind of stuff is going to take money and a service tech. A walking belt is $345. A new deck is $198. My labor, $45 to get me there, $55 an hour labor. Minimum 1 hour. So if you want to save yourself some time, money, and hardship, follow the tips on this video when you look for your new treadmill.